In 1801, a pirate came to a floating brothel and asked a woman to marry him. She said yes, but only on one condition: 50% of everything he owned, his ships, his men, his empire. He agreed. 6 years later, he was dead. And she took the other 50% too.
Her name was Shi Yang, born around 1775 in Guangzhou, Canton, one of the most crowded cities in the world. So crowded, it had spilled into the water. Entire communities lived on boats. Born poor, born on the river. At puberty, forced into sex work to help feed her family. She worked on a flower boat, a floating brothel in the Pearl River Delta. That was her world. Until she decided to make it her weapon. On the flower boat, she learned things that no school could teach. Her clients were not poor men. They were military commanders, royal courtiers, rich merchants, men who talked too much after wine, men who trusted a beautiful woman with secrets they would never tell their wives. She remembered everything, every name, every debt, every weakness. She became famous, not just for her beauty, but for what she knew. And what she knew was everything. In 1801, Zheng Yi walked onto her boat. He was one of the most feared pirates in the South China Sea. His family had been pirates for generations. He commanded hundreds of ships. He had come for a wife. She had heard of him. She had also heard that he needed her connections more than she needed his ships. So when he proposed, she smiled and named her price. Her condition was simple: 50% of all earnings, 50% of all decisions, equal command of the fleet. He agreed, possibly because he had no choice, possibly because he understood that the woman sitting across from him was more dangerous than anyone he had ever fought. They married in 1801. She brought no ships, no army, no title. She brought something worth more than all of those: a mind that treated an empire like a business negotiation. Together, they built something unprecedented. 6 rival pirate clans who had spent decades killing each other, united under one flag: the Red Flag Fleet. By 1805, 400 ships, 40,000 men, the largest criminal organization the South China Sea had ever seen. She had been married 4 years. She had started with nothing. And somewhere in the back of her mind, she already knew that her husband was the most fragile part of everything they had built. 6 clans, 6 flags, 6 men who hated each other. That was the South China Sea in 1801. Every pirate confederation raided the others. No one trusted anyone. No alliance lasted more than a season. Zheng Yi had tried to unite them for years and failed. Then his wife sat down with each clan leader, one by one. Within 2 years, all 6 flags came down. 1 red flag went up. She did in 2 years what he couldn't do in 10. By 1807, the numbers were staggering. 1,800 ships, 80,000 men. For comparison, the entire British Royal Navy at the time had fewer ships than she did. Blackbeard, history's most famous pirate, commanded 4 ships and 300 men. She commanded more sailors than most countries could put to sea. The South China Sea didn't belong to China anymore. It didn't belong to Britain or Portugal. It belonged to a woman from a floating brothel in Canton. An empire of 80,000 outlaws needed rules. She wrote them herself. Any pirate who attacked without her authorization, beheaded. Any pirate who stole from the joint treasury, first offense, flogging. Second offense, execution. Any pirate who raped a female captive, executed immediately. Any pirate who deserted, ears cut off, paraded through the fleet. She had built a criminal empire and run it with more discipline than most governments managed. November 16th, 1807. Zheng Yi was dead. He was 42 years old. 3 different accounts exist: a typhoon off the coast of Vietnam, an accident at sea, or, according to some sources, he was killed. By whom? No one specifies. What is documented is what happened next. Within 2 weeks of his death, his widow had secured the loyalty of every clan leader in the Confederation. Before anyone else could move, she had already moved. Zheng Yi's adopted son, Cheng Potsai, was supposed to inherit the fleet. He was young, charismatic, loyal, and completely without the political connections needed to hold the Confederation together. She solved this the only way that made sense in her world. She married him. Within weeks of her husband's death, she became the wife of her husband's son. The Confederation didn't collapse in scandal. It didn't even flinch. Because she had already made sure every clan leader understood this was the only version where everyone stayed rich. By 1808, she controlled the entire coastline of Guangdong province. Every merchant ship paid tribute. Every fishing village paid protection money. Every port taxed. Even the East India Company, the most powerful trading organization on Earth, agreed to a truce. British ships could sail unmolested through waters she controlled. In exchange, they paid. Everyone paid. Because the alternative was watching your fleet burn while she sailed away with the cargo.
In 1808, the Qing emperor had had enough. He assembled the largest naval force that Dynasty could muster. Warships, fire ships, troop transports. They waited in formation near Canton, a trap designed to end the Red Flag fleet once and for all. When her scouts reported the fleet's position, her captains expected one order: retreat. She gave the opposite. She pointed at the Qing formation and said, "Sail straight for them." The battle lasted less than a day. When it ended, half the Qing Imperial fleet was on fire. Dozens of ships captured. Hundreds of Qing sailors dead. She sailed home with their cannons. The emperor sent a second fleet. She destroyed that one too. 2 imperial navies. 2 defeats in the same year. The most powerful dynasty in Asia could not stop a woman who had started her career on a floating brothel in Canton. By 1809, 3 empires had decided enough was enough. The Qing dynasty, the British Empire, the Portuguese Navy. All 3 simultaneously moved against the Red Flag fleet. It was the largest coordinated effort in the history of the South China Sea to destroy one pirate confederation. She was outnumbered on every side, outgunned from 3 directions. And for the first time in 8 years, she was not the one who had chosen the terms of the fight. The Portuguese were different. They didn't fight like the Qing. They had heavier guns, deeper hulls, ships built for open ocean battle, not river warfare. At the Battle of Tiger's Mouth in 1809, the Portuguese fleet hit the Red Flag fleet with everything they had. It was the first real defeat in 8 years of dominance. Ships lost, men dead. The Red Flag fleet retreated. For the first time, she had been beaten. Not destroyed, not finished, but beaten. Then, the Confederation began to crack from inside. Gu Pudai, commander of the Black Flag fleet, the second most powerful man in her empire, made a calculation of his own. The rewards were changing. The Qing were offering pardons, money, ships, to anyone who switched sides. Gu Pudai switched. He took his fleet to the Imperial Navy, then helped them hunt down his former allies. She had built the Confederation on loyalty, and loyalty, it turned out, had always had a price. She sat with the numbers. 3 empires against her.
a traitor inside her own fleet. Portuguese guns she couldn't match, and a confederation that was starting to wonder if loyalty paid better on the other side. Any other pirate in history would have fought until the end. She didn't. She picked up a brush, wrote a letter to the governor of Canton, requested a meeting, brought no weapons, no guards, just herself and a list of terms. April 17th, 1810. She walked into the office of the governor of Canton. No fleet behind her, no weapons, no armed escort. Just a woman, 35 years old, who had spent the last decade defeating every navy that came for her. The governor had expected negotiations. He had prepared arguments, leverage, pressure. She sat down across from him, unfolded a single piece of paper, and told him calmly, precisely, exactly what was going to happen next. Her terms were not a surrender. They were a transaction. 17,318 pirates, pardoned, all of them. 226 ships, kept. 1,315 cannons, kept. She and Chung Po Tsai allowed to retire freely. No prison, no trial, no execution. The governor agreed to everything, because the alternative was continuing a war that had already cost China 2 imperial fleets and was showing no signs of ending. She had won by choosing to stop. She retired at 35, moved to Canton, then Macau, opened a gambling house. Behind the gambling house, a smuggling operation that would have impressed her younger self. She had a son with Chung Po Tsai. She outlived him too. He died in 1822. She kept running the business. She died in 1844, 69 years old, in bed, surrounded by everything she had built. The most successful pirate in human history died quietly, wealthy, comfortable, entirely on her own terms. Her name was Shi Yang. That was the name she was born with. History didn't use it. Instead, she was called Zheng Yi Sao, widow of Zheng Yi, named after a man who commanded fewer ships than she did, who made fewer decisions than she did, who died at 42, while she lived to 69. She commanded the largest pirate fleet in the history of the world, and history named her after her husband. Some things, it turns out, don't change as fast as empires do. Blackbeard terrorized the Caribbean for 2 years. He's in every history book, every film, every game. There are museums dedicated to him. She commanded a fleet 45 times larger than his, defeated 3 world empires simultaneously, retired on her own terms, lived another 34 years. There is no museum, no national holiday, no statue in Canton. Her name, the one history gave her, means widow. The most powerful pirate who ever lived is remembered as someone's wife. In 1801, she sat across from a pirate on a floating brothel in Canton. He wanted a wife. She wanted an empire. They made a deal. She kept her end. She kept his end too. She kept everyone's end. The Qing emperors, the British admirals, the Portuguese captains, the governors. Every person who thought they were negotiating with her walked away having given more than they intended. That was always the deal. She just never told anyone. It was the only deal she was ever offering.